Welcome back to another podcast. So today I want to be talking about the fear of things being out of your control. I want to be talking about energy transfers, taking a step back when you need to, and just how scary the ups and downs of life can be. Okay, so I have had tonsillitis for almost 2 weeks now, so I've been putting off making this podcast, so I still sound ill. Ignore that. I have had a very stressful week, and I just feel like it ties into what I want to talk about today. And this whole page and this whole reason I started was for you to follow my journey on healing, not just the good parts but the bad parts too. So I think it's important to be transparent and kind of share my experiences and what I've learned from them. And I feel like I'm going to do that today with the topics I'm talking about without oversharing too much on this page. So I think the biggest thing I want to talk about is the fear of things being out of your control. So I've spent probably years now trying to sort of trust God, trust the process, and kind of ride the wave, as I've spoke about before. Like, you know, good parts are great, but low parts, you got to enjoy them as well, be grateful for them, because they're gonna push you further to become a stronger person, a better person. You'll receive bigger blessings and all that. This week I have had quite a knock with that. Unfortunately, my dog was diagnosed with cancer probably about like a week ago exactly, I think. And he was quite young, so it was a shock. And if you don't really have pets, you might not understand. But for me, my dog was part of my daily routine. Like, between my tasks, I'd go like fuss him, I'd go take him out, I'd take him on walks. Walks was good for my mental health, and it was just so many things where that dog was a part of my life. And my dog specifically was a Labrador, and he had such a personality, and it is just so quiet in this house without him, without having the presence. And I didn't realize how much I actually did with him and how much I relied on him just for like comfort and the presence of someone. And you know, it's really sad when such an innocent animal who just loves you with like unconditional love is going to pass away. So that was a bit of a shock for me, and clearly a low point of my life. And I got hit with that this week, and it really did shake me. And then literally like a week later, he went downhill pretty fast, and then he passed away a couple of days ago. And it just was awful, but I kind of had to take a step back and look at it as if this is one of those low parts of my life that I've spoken about. It is the trough. You know, it's horrible and at the sacrifice of sort of an animal, a soul, but this is going to teach me something. It's going to teach me how to handle grief, which is something I haven't experienced in quite a few years now. And now I'm a new person, and I'm older. I've got a different personality. Like, it would have been interesting to see, okay, how does this older version of me handle grief and shock? And I've had a lot of shock this year, I'd say. And I've kind of done a lot of therapy, because all the shock that I've been faced with this year kind of has sent me into a state of dissociation, kind of quite numb. Haven't really been feeling my emotions the way I used to. I was quite an emotional person, and that scared me because it wasn't me. It wasn't how I normally handle things. And I got scared. I was like, why am I not feeling things the way I should? But this is all your brain trying to adapt to the new version of yourself. So I've had a lot of shock this year, and I've been dealing with it, I wouldn't say well, just very different, and that kind of scares me. But the idea of shock comes under that out of control thing. It's something that you didn't prepare for, and for me that was like the worst thing, because I had anxiety. You normally like prepare for every worst case scenario possible. And with a couple of things this year, including my dog passing, that was something that I did not prepare for and was not expecting. And it took me into shock. And that is terrifying, because that was out of my control. It was something I missed. It was something that I didn't see coming. And for me, this week, although I've been trying very hard and practicing about, you know, enjoying the wave, I did not enjoy the wave this week. And I feel like it's important to talk about like relapses. It's important to talk about, you know, you can't feel positive all the time. And I did try and keep the positive mindset, but I feel like when you're grieving, or like quite a lot is happening at one moment, it's kind of quite easy to slip back into like negative mindsets. So I did, because everything felt out of control. I now needed to feel in control of something in my life, because I felt like everything was kind of falling out of my hands. And instead of sitting back and kind of enjoying that, I just kind of was like, nope, I need to be in control now. And I wore myself down. I went out to like 2 raves, didn't get back until like 8 a.m. I was out a lot, and then coming home dealing with grief and trying to support my family grieving, and the process of my dog actually going downhill was really sad to watch. And then had work, and I was giving myself so much to do. I got ill and then continued to wear myself out, so then I got really ill, and now I have tonsillitis. So it's just kind of a kick, and the universe kind of being like, slow down, like just relax, like you did not need to go so crazy, so like one way or the other. And it's something I've always struggled with, but haven't really struggled with in a while, is kind of the intense ups and downs. And of course I always practice and preach about enjoying the ups and downs, but when you're quite a intense person, that can be really hard to enjoy, because there's mania and depression, there is low lows and high highs, and those types of highs and lows aren't very enjoyable. And for me, it was either like your high highs could be, I don't know, like going out drinking, being drunk, and you think this is amazing, the best night ever, and then the next day like you're not just low, but you're like fully depressed because the alcohol's been in your body, like, and then it can become a bit of like a rotation, and then you get ill, and then you genuinely are sad because you can't do anything, like even the little things like me going out for a walk, couldn't do that because I was actually ill and physically couldn't. So it's kind of the universe's way of forcing me to stay inside and be like, relax. And I see that, and it's okay to go for a bit of what I'd call a mad week and look back and reflect on it and know what went wrong, and that's definitely what I've done this week. But it is scary, I think, when things go out of control. When things go out of your control and you didn't see it coming, it's terrible. And for me, and I feel like a lot of people can resonate, it can kickstart me into like going a bit intense with my emotions. Then if I'm going through a really low time, I need to balance that with a really, really high time, and it can just become one or the other, and I kind of lose sense of that middle ground that I've spent so long perfecting, which is that inner peace, that inner just tranquility of life, going on a walk, getting a coffee. Like I wasn't even doing the middle ground things, it was one or the other. And that's where you can really lose yourself and get quite scared of yourself, because then you trying to take control of your life actually turns out to be the thing that you can't control in the end. So yeah, I think the biggest thing I've learned is I need to keep working on this, riding this up and down wave, and I feel like it's a very hard process that even when we're older we'll still struggle with. I think especially grief, that's one that hits harder, because it's way more emotional. A lot of other people are involved, there's a lot to take in, there's a very long process with things. I now have to deal with the lack of presence of the dog that I always had, and how do I now adapt my lifestyle to that? It's a big change. I don't like change. So there's a lot of moments in your life that are going to be out of control, are going to be really low. But for me, I understood that this is kind of a test to see how I would deal with it. It's going to make me stronger. For me, I also think everything this year has been kind of teaching me how to be content with my own presence, my own energy. Like, as much as my dog wasn't a bad presence, I still relied on him quite a lot for walks, for, at night, having him there watching TV. And now it's kind of the brutal sacrifice of, no, you genuinely need to be like alone, like not on your phone, not texting your friends or anyone, not with your dog. Genuinely, can you be happy with your energy completely alone? And it's harsh, but that's kind of how I'm taking the lesson and going, okay, let's do that. The biggest thing I've learnt this week, and it's links to my next point, is all about energy transfers. Energy is a very strong and scary thing, and this whole couple weeks I've been out with lots of friends that I love, but I've been also around people that I don't know that well, or you go places of where mutual friends are, or even looking at like TikToks and it's just kind of like negative people that you don't really know, and I just feel like I've been absorbing a lot of not bad energy, but low vibrational energy, and because I was going for a low time as well, it just felt more and more and more. And then it's quite easy to blame the people around you rather than taking accountability, knowing you're going through a low time. Taking a step back, you're completely entitled to taking a step back. When you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like too much is going on, if you feel like you're going to be a bit sad and pass your energy on to someone, or you feel like you're absorbing someone else's, it's completely okay to just say, you need to take a step back. And once I got ill, I literally didn't see anyone for like a week, and now I'm going to go for a phase of just not being on socials that much apart from work, and I just really want to spend some time completely by myself and away from everyone's energy. Obviously, I love my best friends, my family, but honestly, sometimes you just need to be in a little shell by yourself and just feel like, can you be content with that? But energy transfers is something that is really important, and I know it. Like, you can hang out with someone who's going through a hard time and you come back home and you start to feel quite sad yourself, and it's not necessarily their fault, it's not your fault, but it's just how energy works. You're with someone who's really bubbly and bright, energy transfers, you start to feel happy, you start to feel good. And it's the same like with people that you're really close to, family, and energy can really impact your energy. So you have to be really protective who you let in your life, in certain moments, in your high moments, in your low moments. It's really, really important to have boundaries and take a step back when someone's energy is too low, too high, because it really can swing your energy out of whack. Like, it can really mess you up, and to kind of maintain peaceful energy is quite hard when you've got all these different personalities around you constantly. So making sure that you do designate yourself time of peace and quiet and genuinely no outside energy is really crucial to just resetting yourself. And I think that's what I needed after this week, was a complete reset. But yeah, a complete reset is very necessary. If you're expected to go out every Friday and Saturday night, to be able to say no, like, I just want to chill. Like, I much prefer sitting down and watching a bit of TV at night now, baking like some sort of dessert. You know, that would have been with my best friends, loved ones, or my dog. But now I really want to make sure that I have at least one day where I just do it completely by myself. As much as I would love to have other people's company, I need to do things genuinely by myself, because I need to know, do I enjoy it? Am I okay by myself? Or am I constantly leeching off everyone else? And then you lose one of the things you were leeching off, such as like my dog, say, and you realise that lack of presence is so prominent in your life. So that's why it's so important to love yourself first and like build a connection with yourself, as weird as it sounds, and then everyone else is like a bonus, and you get to pick what energy comes in and out and when, and that's really important. I'm gonna call myself like a highly emotional, like intense person, because I personally feel like I feel emotions way more intensely than other people, or quite empathetically. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Like, when I feel sad, I feel sad, and when I feel happy, I feel really, really happy and good about myself. So it's very extreme emotions, and that can stem from like a lot of things, but I have really tried hard to learn how to balance that out and just sit in this middle wave. But when you're triggered, or when something dramatic happens, and especially if it's something you weren't prepared for, you can feel a sense of like whirlwind, like everything is out of your control and you need to grab onto something. But in that, you're most likely going to grab onto something toxic or something unhealthy, that you think is just going to like ride you along. A lot of people do it with like substances, alcohol, whatever. People, you like grab onto your favourite person and just hope that they'll look after you throughout the ride, and you can't do that. Like, you genuinely have to kick yourself and be like, I'm alone in this whirlwind. And I think it's the most terrifying thing, and it's really, really hard. But I feel like it's completely okay to have a mad week where it does go wrong a bit, but be able to be self-aware that you did that and think, how can we change that for next time, is so important. And for me, like, I can look back on this week and say, okay, maybe I didn't need to go out twice. Maybe I could have just gone out once and cancelled the other one. I would have missed out, but my health should have come first, or process my emotions in a more calm way, write them down. I literally didn't journal this week, and that is unlike me. Like, quite a dramatic thing happened and I didn't write anything down. So no wonder I kind of had a bit of a whirlwind of emotions, because my normal structure of journaling, writing things down, getting my emotions out on paper wasn't there. So it's so important that you don't lose sight of everything you've learned in your healing process and the activities and, you know, resources that you've like implemented throughout this. When you're in the middle of like a crisis, do not forget it. Like, I know for next time I'm going to write myself like a notes page of all these activities I can be doing. Unfortunately, I was ill as well. Like, I could have gone out to the gym, I could have gone on a walk and just really cleared my head. But I kind of felt like maybe I needed to experience the emotions really to process it. But it is important to have your list of things that are going to calm you and ground you and bring you back to that middle ground, and not kick off high or kick off low. Like, just come back to the peace and find the tiny little things that are going to like remind you that you're completely human and fine. This is part of the human experience, is to go through the major ups, the major downs, and if you're a highly sensitive person, you're going to feel them way harder. So it is completely up to you, no one else, to take accountability for that and think, okay, I need to prepare myself a bit for these crises and have something that's going to bring me to that middle ground so I can process it. I think for me, like, nature's a big one. Like, I was so close to just booking another holiday and like going off, and I was like, all I need is to sit like on a beach or in a forest or something and just like think about it there. But the difficulty with that is, as much as I agree and I think nature is so good, and it's really hard because the weather's so bad here at the moment, you can't like run away from your problems in that sense. Like, yes, you'd be dealing with them, but you need to learn how to do that in your environment, in your home. Your home should be your safe space. It should be a space that makes you feel peaceful. And if you have to book a holiday every time you're stressed or overwhelmed, like, as much as I'd love to do that, I personally don't think that's a healthy way of coping either. And I was very close into getting into that type of cycle. And as you get older, you're gonna need that money to start saving and things. So, you know, you don't want to get yourself in a toxic cycle with that, even though it doesn't seem toxic, it can be. So for me, it was like, no, I'm genuinely gonna have to sit in this room and face these emotions, and, you know, kind of lock myself in my room, straight jacket me, make sure I don't go out or like do anything silly, because this is part of the human experience. I have to go through this like horrible, intense feeling, and yes, I'm going to feel it probably more intense than say the average person, because that's how I am, but it is how I am, and that's completely okay, and learn from that. But I completely get why people say it's scary when things go out of control. It is probably the thing that I struggle with the most, but on a majority I can deal with it. On something quite big and dramatic like this week, maybe I didn't deal with it the best way, but I can look back and know what to do for next time. And I feel like self-reflection is key, and that's completely valid, and I think that's completely fine. I feel like it's quite taboo, like when people go through a hard time and they kind of like go a bit mad or go really sad or kind of lash out a bit, and I just feel like you need a good support system around you that's going to understand that it's just in the moment, and you're really trying to find how to bring yourself back to that middle ground. But, you know, a couple days after something dramatic, you're gonna be a bit intense, and that's fine. When I talk about the energy transfers, I think the biggest thing I learned this week is that I am just like a big child. Like, I kind of looked at like certain people online or certain people around my area, and to me, a lot of their actions or like their mindsets are scary. Like, it seems very, not adulty, but in a society that's kind of like work, party, repeat, and without any sort of like looking after themselves or, you know, like that peace. It just seems chaotic, and I felt like I was getting sucked into that, of the, you know, work, party, like high low, rather than like that middle ground where, yes, it might be a boring day, but that's okay. And that's where I kind of looked at myself and I realised I am just a child. Like, I am still my inner child, and I talk to certain people and I just kind of crawl back into my shell. Like, that's where I can become quite introverted and shy, because I realise that I don't feel safe around a lot of people, and a lot of people that I might be trying to get to know, like as a new friend or something, or in the moment when you feel like you're on a high and you're like really like extrovert and you feel confident and you go out. And then the more and more I like talk to people and like understand like how they work, like I retreat back because I just think you're not my person, you're not my energy, and that is completely fine. And I think the biggest thing like to remember is you can't change anyone, like everyone is how they are. And obviously if it's a close friend, you try and help them and guide them, but if someone is the way they are and you don't get on with them, please just walk away from them. Like you can't change them or mold them, like, or beg for them to be your perfect friend, perfect person, because their energy just does not resonate with yours, and that is fine. Stop trying to make it work and force it. Like I bet there is so many friendships that are forced because you have to be, and I've just got to the point now where I'm like, if my energy does not match yours, I'm not gonna force myself to be around energy that makes me feel worse, makes me feel unsafe, it makes me feel weird. I'm just not gonna do it, and I just will retreat back, and that's completely fine. That's where the inner child comes in. I personally feel it, if I'm around people that my inner child doesn't really feel safe around, I'm just gonna kind of leave that situation. And yes, of course, you've got to throw yourself in the deep end, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, yes, but if you're constantly, or you're starting to become around energy that you think isn't compatible with your healing and your peace, just avoid it completely. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. It's like I was out, I was having a great time, but then I got really, really anxious all of a sudden, and I just realised that it's because my inner child did not feel safe, because I was trying to convince myself I was on this high, I was confident, and then it all came crashing down, and I realised like I just want to be in my bed, I just want to be in my safe space that I've created for myself, and right now I'm not in a safe space, surrounded by people I don't know. And I got really anxious and like claustrophobic, and it makes complete sense. So the biggest thing I can say with that is look at who you're surrounding your energy with very wisely, and what energy you're giving out as well. You just want to attract positive, kind of like the people that bring out your inner child, that you can be like silly with and goofy with, is the best type of people you want in your life. The people that you feel like you have to put an act on, you have to be a bit professional and a bit more mature. I don't feel like that's as fun, so I'm very limited. Like a lot of people I'll have in doses, or a lot of situations or scenarios I'll do in doses, because too much of anything can be bad for you. So I found the safe space and like the energy that makes me feel good and that can help me on my healing process, and that's the energy that I want to have more frequently in my life. Obviously here and there you're going to have different types of people, different types of adventures, situations, but protecting your inner child is key. If you don't feel comfortable somewhere, remove yourself. Or if you think you've been around a certain type of energy that's been making you feel anxious quite frequently, it's okay to take a break. It doesn't mean you have to cut off that situation, that person, whatever it is. Just take a step back, reground yourself, remind yourself you are safe, have a bit of alone time, and then go back into it. That's completely fine, but don't use those people as like a distraction, and it becomes a regular thing, and you live with that type of energy, and then this like peaceful young energy just disappears, and you just constantly feel anxious. So find the right energy. Probably quite a short episode, but I kind of just wanted to talk about like how scary it is when things go wrong, when things are not in your control, and how, for me, I'm quite intense and it's one or the other, and trying to level yourself out, remind yourself you're safe, bring yourself back to that middle ground that you've like that safe space you've tried so hard to create. You need to be able to figure out how to bring yourself back there, and if it means, you know, just spending some time alone, getting away from certain energies, or stop going out to certain places that, you know, are low vibrational, just balance is key. And I think that's the biggest thing I need to say. And if you're going for a hard time, sometimes you need to prioritize other things and other energies over others. If you normally would go out on a Friday and Saturday every day, but you're going for a hard time, maybe take a step away from it just for a couple of weeks, reground yourself, prioritize other things that you've been putting off, things that are going to bring you like, that are going to make you feel productive, make you feel good about yourself, make you feel like in tune with your inner child. Like today, instead of sitting on TikTok and texting my friends or looking at the next holiday I could go to, I cleaned my room that I haven't cleaned in ages. I went to the gym, posted some parcels I've been putting off, made myself a smoothie, edited some amazing media things, and then got into work. And now I'm doing this podcast, and I feel so productive and so much better about myself. And I have done all of that by myself today, completely alone in my own company, and I just needed some time by myself. And that's completely fine. I'm regrounded. I feel back like a normal functioning human. I don't feel as crazy or as sad, and I'm now going through the process in a healthy manner, which is exactly what you need. But I guess this whole podcast episode today is to say it's completely valid if your healing journey is not linear, if it does go a little bit crazy, if it does go off like tree trunks over here. That's completely fine as long as you are aware of that and know what to do to bring yourself back and what to do next time. So yeah, sorry if this was a little bit more of a rambly episode, but hopefully there's something you can resonate with, or just follow my process along and understand that it's not all like peaceful meditating in trees. That's not healing. It's hard, and you will get faced with obstacles you were not expecting in your peaceful moments, and it's about navigating that and how can you deal with that. I think a big thing for me as well is once one bad thing happens, it can trigger a lot of other things that are going on in my life, or trigger things that I haven't really uncovered yet, or traumas that I've kind of hidden and they've come back up, and now instead of one thing you've got 6 things to deal with. So take a step back, take a break, and really work on one thing at a time. Don't forget all your activities, your journal, and everything you've learned. Don't let it just fly out the window, but it's okay if it does. Just please get back on track and quickly, because you want this healing journey to work. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. I'm going to edit this and see if it makes any sense, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another episode.